everyone, I'm Vivian Martinez, and today I want to talk about some reflections regarding to my master's thesis in anthropology. The name of my thesis was Gender, Ethnicity, and Female Collective Action, Conversations with the Indigenous Women of Cabildo Mayor, Quichua, Camanquihue, Bogotá. The structure of my presentations has four parts. The first is the description and research proposal. The second is the description about who are the Quichua people. And the third part is about the results. And the last one is about the conclusions. Research proposal. My research has three parts. That is interest, objectives, and the methods, that is anthropology of gender. And my interest, there are feminine migration, labor in reproduction, women's political participation, that is marked for my intention of knowing. As objective, I have to investigate about difference of gender and some experiences of subordination, exclusion, and inequality of gender in these women. The method is anthropology of gender, that has a proposal of ethnographic writing that is based in narratives, the writing of narratives, experiences of life, and the representation of daily experiences, tensions, conflicts, and opinions of people in the ethnography. The Quichua. The Quichua people are an indigenous people native from the city of Otavalo in northern Ecuador. These people have adopted some practices of migration and musical interpretation and trade. In the aspect of migration, there are several diasporas Quichuas around the world that reproduce these practices. There are several migration destinies, but in the case of this research, I identified three. Since Otavalo, the first route is to Pasto, the second one is to Popayán, the city of Popayán, and the last one is in Bogotá. Since 1940, some Quichua families have migrated to Bogotá in order to do economic exchange and cultural exchange. In the decades of 60s and 70s, a Quichua colony had been formed in the city of Bogotá, and later in 2006, this colony were organized as a political organization named Cabildo Indígena, that is an indigenous form of government of indigenous people in the country. With the pass of the time, many political leaders of Cabildo have created an official version of the history of Quichua people in Bogotá. In this history, the leaders represented practices of migration, trade, and music with cultural meaning through the narrative of processes that in English is like pioneers of beginners of the process of migration and settlement of Quichuas in Colombia. This was some the characteristic of solidarity, prestige, and ability among Quichua that promote and give force to these narratives. Many years later, a female organization joined the Cabildo. This organization is known as Comité de Mujeres, that translation is Women's Committee. The Women's Committee has the objective of promoting and supporting the political participation of Quichua women in the Cabildo. And these are pictures of the celebration of Inti Raymi, a traditional festivity of Quichua women in the city. This is the ritual of Inti Raymi, and this event was in the Quichua kindergarten in Bogotá. These are the women who I worked in my research. The first is Janet Kinche, that is the secretary of the Cabildo. The second is Lupe Amaguaña, that is a teacher in Quechua kindergarten. And the third is Monica Palacios, that is the secretary of Health and Traditional Health in the Cabildo. And the last one is Susana Terán, that is the governor of the Cabildo in Lima. Female collective action, subordination, and the difference of gender, the experiences of Quechua women, is the name that I choose for my results. I propose that the female collective action and the narratives of subordination and difference of gender sustain the political activity of the Women's Committee. This is also sustained in three topics: the cultural position of Quechua women, the female collective action of Women's Committee itself, and the construction of the difference of gender. The cultural status of Quechua women is given by three representations of Quechua women that are expressed in their narratives and experiences of life. The first is the women as responsible for human life. The second is the women as workers. And the last one is the Quechua women as strong women. The perspectives of subordination, exclusion, and inequality of women is regard to the own conceptions of that women about what is subordination, exclusion, and inequality. The first action is to command. The second action is be authorized. The third is do not have the right to speak and decide. That is a popular saying in Bogota and Colombia. The next one is kneel down. Another one is shut up and be quiet. And the last one is the male supremacy, that in the words of these women is expressed as machismo. Machismo has no direct translation in Spanish. The Women's Committee and its female collective action is sustained in the cultural status of Quechua women that I exposed before. The collaboration between Michas and Quechuas. Michas are the women who are not Quechuas, and the female leadership platform, that is how the Women's Committee functions as a political platform for some of these women. The difference of gender is constructed around two topics. On the one hand, we have the activities and roles of Quechua women in home and trade, and their appreciation of what is feminine and what is their status in the community. On the one hand, we have the solidarity, prestige, and companionship that the political leaders of Cabildo represent, and how this could be a key for understanding a possible Quechua masculinity. The last part of my presentation corresponds to the conclusion, and I want to express some ideas and knowledges that I call for freedom, that is, how to subvert the exclusion and the subordination of women in general. I propose knowledge for freedom that is sustained or is based in four elements. The first is the political and intellectual goals for more inclusive work, in which, as academics, we have a very important role. The second is investigating the daily life of women as a form of achieving justice and a more equality in the world. The third is how the academic and intellectual goals can become impersonal bets for a more inclusive world. And the last is becoming feminist. In my research, when I was talking with that women and when I was doing my research, I started a process of becoming feminist, and be more conscious of these topics and these problematics and do something with my action in the academia for subvert it. Thank you.